the 5-part series. So over the next few weeks, we have 5 modules plus the 3rd week. We have a focused discussion for folks in more of the manufacturing and industrial industries. And then on the Thursday, the 7th module would be for folks more in the digital technology sector. All of the modules will be hosted at the same time. They'll run for about 60 to 70 minutes, Tuesday, Thursdays, but a reminder that we do have our crisis communications module tomorrow, Wednesday. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to our facilitator, Michelle Messina, CEO of Explore International. Michelle has extensive experience coaching CEOs and managers to grow and scale companies. She is passionate about catalyzing entrepreneurial ecosystems across the globe, and she, before this, had been traveling constantly. I would see her LinkedIn feed, and she would always be in another city, country, every week, it seemed. And she particularly likes emerging markets, transitional economies, and white space opportunities. So welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. It's really good to be here. After traveling for lots and lots of miles, I'm grounded just like everybody else is. So we're looking at how we can bring helpful content to business owners and entrepreneurs around the world. And just a bit of my background, I'm based in Silicon Valley. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started my first company when I was 17. I couldn't even spell the word entrepreneur at the time and had never heard the term before, but I got friends, family, and fool's money, which was my father investing in my business, and then sold the company 2.5 years later. So I really, I enjoy working with founders and leaders to help them move their business forward, and have worked in lots of countries with thousands of corporations and startups, and just recently was appointed to the board of Startup Chile, which is a program that the Chilean government uses to jumpstart much more entrepreneurial activity in Chile, and then connect those entrepreneurs to the Chilean diaspora around the world. So today we're going to talk a little bit about leadership and communication, and why it's super important during very crazy times like this, with respect to, you know, the economy shutting down, with respect to managing our employees. Our sales pipelines have disappeared. Contracts have gotten canceled. So our goal really is to, over this series, to help you be better prepared to manage through this process. And so today we're going to spend some time talking about leadership and communication, and then you can see the other topics that we'll cover over the next couple of weeks. The challenge for us right now is that there's a lot of things pushing on each one of our businesses. The coronavirus outbreak has basically forced everyone to go indoors, shelter in place, quarantine, self-isolate, whatever you want to call it. And it's really forced a lot of companies to shut down, laying off employees or putting them on hiatus for a while. So these are the factors that are pushing on your business. And the sort of the outflow of these factors is that your clients, your team, your employees, everybody is feeling anxiety and stress and fear and worry because it's unclear what's going to happen in the future. Just following the news, as I'm sure you've done the last few days, you can see that every day there's a new element of the news that is pretty significant with respect to tracking of the patients, or the death rate, or how the virus is spreading. So every time we get in the news, look at the news, or listen to the news, it's really moving very, very quickly. And it's hard to find anything but that in the news. So it's hard to find any business-related news, or it's even hard to find good news. These things, you know, the fear, the anxiety, everything is really pushing on your team and your employees. And what we're all looking for at this particular point in time is courage to move forward, and courage to make decisions based on incomplete information, and to help our employees be safe, our teams be safe, and things along those lines. So with courage, comes vulnerability. And we've got to be looking at our overall wellness and well-being of our employees. This is kind of a common diagram about, just as a human being, some of the things that impact us to help us feel more calm, more present, more happy. There's 3 or 4 things that I think from a corporate employee and a company perspective that we as business leaders and CEOs can have impact on. Certainly, the financial issues associated with our employees and our team members. Are we able to continue paying them? Are we looking at everybody taking a 20% cut in hours across the board so that we all can continue working? So from a financial perspective, as an employer, you have an element of control over the well-being of your employees. Secondly, on the social side, consider the fact that we have communities at work, we have teams that we work with, we have the broader employee pool. That's part of our social circle as human beings. Those are part of the people that we see every day, we talk to, we follow the events and activities of their life. So that's part of our social connection to community. And the challenge is now with everyone working at home, we don't see people in the same way. We don't see what they dress in. We don't talk to them about necessarily how their grandbaby's doing. So the social impact is very different because now we're working online and we don't see the people and share a cup of coffee with them every day. Going down to the bottom of this diagram from an occupational perspective, think about the employees that are really good at what they do, or those that have been working on training and certification to get to the next level of their job. You know, they're trying to qualify for a promotion. Some of those programs that they may have been involved in, or the training process they've been connected to within the organization, could have gone away either for the time being or indefinitely because of the fact that a lot of companies have changed their work habits, their work styles, and what exactly is the interaction between everyone on the team. So from an occupational perspective, that's a factor in the well-being of your employees as well, that you can contribute to, that you can be aware of and cognizant of, and help them be better at managing all these changes that are happening in their business. And then lastly, environmental. The fact that they're now perhaps working at home and have never had experience doing that before. Personally, I've been doing it off and on for 20 years, so I'm quite comfortable in the process of working at home. I'm pretty focused. I have my work habits, my routine through the day where I am very, very productive on writing, which for me is very early in the morning. And when I'm not very productive, it's usually between noon and 3 in the afternoon, which is usually when I take my walk and go outside, although not supposed to be doing a lot of walking these days either. But so from an environmental perspective, there's a lot of impact to people who've never worked from home before. So they now may no longer have childcare because their childcare facility is closed down due to the virus. So the kids are home, yet they're still required to work from home. And so how do you manage young kids and their activities in relation to your own ability to manage your team or connect with your team on a regular basis? So from an environmental perspective, there's a lot of factors that make it very challenging for your employees to not feel fear, anxiety, stress, and just overall anxiety, I guess, is the biggest thing, is because the future is unsure. So my objective in showing you this diagram and talking about these 4 points is for you to be more aware and cognizant of the overall well-being of your employees, and consider what factors you can influence in your conversations with your employees, and how you can keep people better connected more tightly so they can feel still part of a social community. They still feel like they are moving forward in their job challenges and their learning process. But do be aware that there's lots of factors that can help you reduce the fear, anxiety, and worry that your employees have. I was going through quotes last week, and I particularly love this one because this is Winston Churchill saying, sometimes doing your best is not good enough. Sometimes you just must do what's required. And this is, I think, indicative of the situation that we're in these days, that there's just a lot of different things we're going to have to do. Business as we knew it is very much changed now. It's no longer going to be business as usual. So it's time for us to kind of look at everything that we do and figure out where and how we can make modifications to continue moving forward, to help our employees reduce the anxiety that they feel, and overall be more productive during very difficult times. So when I looked at leadership and I looked at all the uncertainty out there in the market, in the news, I thought about, as a human being, what would happen to me if I didn't have facts or data? And I realized that what I would do would be to go to the darkest possible scenario about what's going to happen in the future. And this is just sort of a natural human tendency. If you don't give me information, you don't check in with me, you don't share what's going on, I assume the worst. And we don't want our team and our employees to be doing that. And so the role of the leader, the role of the CEO and the manager now, in my view, is what I would call the explainer in chief. This is an opportunity for you to be as clear and as transparent and as honest as possible with your team so that they can continue coming to work and being productive every day. Because the challenge in all of this is that without information and with all this fear and anxiety that's going on, I, as an employee, am not very productive. And what we want to do is continue making changes in our leadership approach, our communication approach, in our work habits and our work style. But the way to do this really is by being very open and transparent with our employees. So it may need some tweaks and some changes in your leadership style, in your communication style. You as the CEO or the business manager may be uncomfortable with being very visible all the time and talking to your employees. And you may want to withdraw. You may just want to go in a dark room and close the door because it's too much noise and too many things to think about. But I would like to caution you to don't withdraw. It's very important that you stay very visible. As uncomfortable as it makes you feel, perhaps, it's a really important time to be visible, to be connecting with everybody, and to be talking to them. So don't withdraw. And the last thing around this, around explainer in chief, is around the solutionist mindset. So listening to your employees to understand what individual issues they have, but also listening to them in their interactions with customers. What are they feeding back to you with respect to what the customer is saying or not? What about your prospects? If you continue following up with your prospects, what kind of feedback do you get from them about whether or not they want to continue the business conversation with you, or if they just want to put you on pause for the next few weeks or months? So explainer in chief, in my opinion, is probably the best way to summarize the role of leadership and communication during these times. You have to be very empathetic to everybody's individual needs. We are not experiencing this economic, this situational economy, this economic shutdown in the same way. Everybody has a different experience. Some people have very serious financial woes in the sense that they're living paycheck to paycheck. And tomorrow is April 1st. Many people may not be able to pay their rent tomorrow because they've been on shutdown or quarantine for the last couple of weeks, which means they have no income. Some people may have a sick family member, and they have to deal with feeding and caring for that sick family member. Some people are working from home. Their whole routine is upset now. They have to deal with the children. They have to deal with working from home, getting the technology working. They're not comfortable with this sort of thing. Many of us live in apartments and we can't really go out and exercise. I'm fortunate I have a garden and I live close to the beach, and I can go out for walks. But we have to understand that lots of people are having a different experience than we are. So what you are experiencing personally is not necessarily what the other person is experiencing. So you have to listen and acknowledge what kind of challenges that they're facing. And be really careful in listening to their individual concerns, because you want to go back and check with them in a couple of days or a couple of weeks. So for example, if you have somebody who has never worked from home before and they're having challenges feeling connected to the rest of their team, and they tell you that, they say, I feel so disconnected from my team right now. Listen to that, make a note of that, because you want to circle back with that person in a day or two and ask them how they're feeling. We got the technology issues resolved for you. Do you feel more connected to your team now that you're on some kind of a routine schedule in looking at, you know, your reports and talking about productivity and things like that? So don't forget, everyone's experience is different, and you want to listen to those individual concerns and check back with those people. This is the opportunity to build trust. This is the opportunity for you to build a stronger bond with your employees. Being open and trustworthy is probably one of the strongest things that a company can do. And in reality, most people trust their employers more than they trust the government. You know, if you look at any of the any of the news that's happening in the United States with respect to how different states are handling the pandemic, you look at people like Governor Cuomo of New York and Governor Newsom of California, and they are having daily press briefings. They're very clear about their targets, what they're trying to achieve, what actions they're taking. They're being very creative, very decisive. And the trust level for both of those governors has gone way up in the last couple of weeks. And you compare and contrast that to the President of the United States, who doesn't engender trust with most people. And you can see that there's an opportunity to be very open and communicative and honest with your employees so that they can minimize their own fear and worry and anxiety. If they know that you have things at hand and you're being open and transparent with them, it makes their worry and their anxiety reduce somewhat. It doesn't go away, but it makes them feel more secure. So this whole opportunity to build trust is really, really important right now. The last thing I will say is that since everyone's experience is different, don't be overly optimistic about the future. Don't say we're going to get through this in a couple of weeks and things are going to return to normal, because the fact of the matter is they're not. And if we're overly optimistic, that erodes trust between you and your employees. So focus on the now, focus on what we can do, but be open, transparent, share information. And if you don't know, don't make something up. Don't BS people. It's really, really important right now to simply say, I don't know the answer to that. And we are making decisions with incomplete information. So a couple of the tactics that I might suggest for being more visible, being more communicative with your team is holding a town hall meeting. And you've got technology like Zoom. You could put, you know, different packages. You can put 100 people in the meeting with one presenter talking about, you know, various different issues. What are the things that we're doing? What are the things that we're seeing? So frequent town hall meetings, I think, are a really important way for people to feel connected to their community, to feel like they're part of the company, and for them to ask questions about things that concern them. So here's what I'm hearing from the customers. How are we going to deal with this if the customer is concerned about item X? And so that's an opportunity to discuss these things and get clarity around them. In times like this, you as the CEO may worry that I'm over communicating or I'm repeating myself or things like that. I think that the reinforcement is really important right now. It's the equivalent of, you know, holding a child who's fallen down and hurt their knee, and you hold them and say, it's going to be okay. I understand you're hurting right now. It's okay. Cry it out. That sort of reinforcement and repetition, I think, is helpful. So in these town hall meetings, be honest, be yourself, but you know, think about your emotional intelligence and look at your employees and how they're responding and reacting to what's happening. If you are worried and somebody asks you, hey, Mrs. CEO, are you worried? Don't tell them you're not worried. Tell them you are worried if that's really the case. It's the opportunity to be truthful. It's the opportunity to be a human being and to continue building trust. And again, if you don't know the answer, don't bullshit people. Just say you don't know. So I thought about things that would help you from a practical perspective with respect to some words that might help create more trust and more faith between you and your employees. The first one is we're all experiencing this together. My mother said this to me 2 weeks ago. Well, Michelle, don't worry about it. Everybody's experiencing the same thing. And I thought about that and I thought, well, Mom, that's not really the case. And so I don't want you to be having these very sort of off the cuff comments to your employees. You need to be very thoughtful about what you say. So a better way might be to say, I believe in this team. You know, we've created all this value in our business, and I think we're going to be able to find new ways and new options together to meet the market needs. Or I recognize we have to make decisions with incomplete information. That's the nature of what we're going to be doing going forward, is decision making with very partial information. And people understand that. They know inherently that's the case. But when you say it to them that we're going to have to make the best possible decision based on the limited information we have, they get that. And then lastly, this is a challenge. It forces us to find new ways of doing business or new markets or new customers. I believe we're strong and creative enough to adapt. So these are the kind of words that can help engender more trust between you and your employees. So choosing your words is really, really important. So no off-the-cuff responses. Be thoughtful about what you say. And so I put together some helpful words that I think, you know, these are things that can help build trust. The first couple, quality and competency, you know, quality in our products, quality in our business, competency of our teams, valued relationships between us and our customers, between us and our employees. Together we can make this change happen. We understand we're going to be doing business differently. Fair is really around, this is the fair thing to do. Rather than lay off 3 of our employees, we're going to cut salaries, cut hours by 20% because we believe this is more fair and it allows us to keep all our employees on without laying anyone off. We're going to modify things. We have to modify things. This is a new environment in a very situational economy. Sorry and apologies are really, really important. This is such a stressful time for all of us. And so we sometimes respond and react in ways that we don't really mean. And we walk away from the situation and go, you know, I shouldn't have said that like that, or I shouldn't have been so flip in my response. So being able to apologize and say you're sorry is a really important way to build trust as well. Privacy, individual employees are having their own situations, their own personal situations. You know, we have to be cognizant of that, and we need to protect their privacy and the individual experiences that they're having. Expressing appreciation and gratitude is really, really important right now. Sometimes that is the most important thing that allows people to get up in the morning and get their job done. They know that they're appreciated. They know that their skills are looked at with gratitude. And so that sometimes helps motivate people to go the extra mile. Talking about confidence, my confidence in my team, my confidence in the quality of your work. We depend upon one another. So this is great that we have, you know, such high caliber employees here. talking about my expectations. Do you think this is a reasonable expectation for the outcome of this program, process, change in our initiative, modification of our delivery service? Do you think this is a reasonable expectation for the changes that we're considering making? So talk about our common goal. What is our common goal here? Well, our common goal is to find a new delivery mechanism for our customers that they'll accept and that works within the framework of this pandemic. We're strong. We can do this together. This is a really important thing to continue reinforcing to people. It's not that we're all having the same experience. It's that we're all coming together to be a stronger version of us individually and to get the job done, whatever the job may be. In this case, it may be looking at our ops, our marketing, our sales, our delivery. It could be everything that is not that a change is required. So business as usual is done. It's over. We now need to look at the future and figure out how we're going to do all this together. And last couple things, saying thank you is really, really important. Because again, the appreciation and the gratitude that you show people, it inspires them. It's basically the most basic human need is to be heard and acknowledged. And when someone says, thank you, I really appreciate the feedback that you gave me on my presentation, that says something to the other person. So don't be shy in using your thank yous. It's really important. When someone has a great idea, tell them, yep, that's a great idea. Let's figure out how to deploy that right away. And one of the most powerful words in the English language is yes. So figure out how to say yes more frequently and more regularly. So the objective of this slide is just to give you some terminology, some words, some powerful things that are going to help you continue building trust with your employees and helping them get through this as best we can, given the fact that the economy, the landscape, our business, our sales pipeline, everything is changing. So we do have to sit down and look at our customer engagement strategy, our marketing, our operations, our fulfillment. All these things are going to be different because there's new government regulations in place about how we can meet with people, how we touch things, how social distancing, all that kind of stuff. So my suggestion is to identify some of the main things that need to be modified and changed, and create mini teams online so that people can address that challenge or that problem over a short period of time. So the design firm IDEO, which has been responsible for some of the biggest products, whether it be consumer food and beverage products or technology products, the way they approach the ideation and creation process is with questions that are kind of like these. How might we do this? How might we improve our customer engagement model right now? Or how do we reimagine our delivery process? Or is there a better way to accomplish our order taking process that will allow us to keep social distances from people? So instead of saying we need to change our customer engagement model, it's more of an open-ended question. How might we do this? Because that stimulates brainstorming. In the human mind, it creates much more of what I would call sort of a blank canvas, the ability to think about things without restrictions. And so if you're giving a team the task of reimagining or re-envisioning something, don't micromanage them. Let them have the autonomy to be free and in the brainstorming process with their teams online. And how do you make this process more fun? So the more fun the process is, the more creative the process is. So do you tell the teams that, you know, here's 5 of you, you guys are going to go off and reimagine the customer engagement model. And by the way, I'm going to have the local pizza company deliver pizzas at 5 o'clock to everybody's house. So you guys can eat your pizza, drink your beer, and have your online meeting to co-create around the customer engagement process. So the idea is fun stimulates creativity, And questions like, how might we reimagine this, stimulates the blank canvas and much more broad thinking. So inspire your team and put your team on solving some of these little issues or these big issues. Some of these things may be really, really big issues, but give them the freedom, the creativity, and the autonomy to make stuff happen. Simon Sinek, in case you don't know, is a British author and speaker, and he says, what good is an idea if it remains just an idea? Try, experiment, iterate, fail, try again, change the world. This may be sort of a snapshot of what you may be experiencing over the last few weeks and what you may be experiencing the next couple weeks. As an entrepreneur, your natural state of being is being a creative, looking for opportunities, looking for problems, solving them. So the whole process of bringing a product to market is iterating till you get it right and the market says, yep, that's exactly what I wanted. So don't forget that this process of modifying your business over the next couple of weeks or months to reflect the new reality of this economy is all about trying, experimenting, iterating, failing, and trying again. So this is the natural state of being an entrepreneur. There's a lot of people that may not be able to prevent the negativity from coming out in their average everyday conversations. Some people are just like that. They don't filter a lot of what they say, and so they may respond and react to something with a very pessimistic viewpoint of the world. My guidance to you as leaders and managers is catch the negativity as quickly as you can. You know, pull the person aside and have a phone conversation with them or an online video session. Ask them for their guidance, their leadership, their advice, their ideas. Let them know that it's important that you respect and trust them and you want them to be a leader within the company as well. And so how do you get them to think a little bit more positively about something is by saying things like, what are some of the good things that you think can come from this experience? Or what would you like to see happen in the next 7 to 10 days as we revamp the customer engagement model? And you as the leader or manager, you need to self-protect from that negativity. So you have to make sure that you don't take that negativity on your own shoulders, and that you protect yourself from, you know, people that can be negative Nancy's or Debbie Downers, Debbie Davids or Downer Davids. But I want you as a leader and a manager to be aware of the fact that this is the human tendency right now to talk about all the stuff that's going on, all the news. It's important for you to protect yourself, and it's important for you to help reframe the person's viewpoint with a more positive statement, and then also asking them to lead. So as kind of a summary, these are some of the things from a communication perspective that I want you to think about. Be honest, do it frequently, and be very clear. Demonstrate empathy. Be accountable to people. If you said you're going to show up at 2 o'clock for this webinar or this town hall meeting, be on time, be early, be reliable. That says trust as well. Remind people that you have a commonality of goals, that our goal really here is to build a quality product and get it out into the market, or build high quality bug-free software that the market loves and that can take us to the next level in our business. Be consistent, be concise, and let your personality show through. Think about the meaningful words that help people feel more confidence and trust in their leaders. Support your words with actions. In other words, if you are going to put a mini team together to re-envision the customer engagement process over pizza and beer, you better make sure the pizza and beer arrives at 5 p.m. so people can focus on the creativity and the brainstorming process. Your body language and your intonation are definitely important. So if you look at my style of presenting, I talk with my hands a lot because that's just the way I am. I'm also very energetic, but I could be sitting here like this, reading the slides to you in a very monotone way. So what you feel from the 2 different communication styles is that I love what I do. I'm energized when I do it. It means something to me to help entrepreneurs. I want to give valuable information that you can take and use in your everyday business life. So how you deliver the message, your level of passion, your emotional engagement, whether you talk with your hands or not, your intonation is really, really important. So think about these things as you come together with the rest of your management team, looking at your communication strategy, how you're going to interact with your employees, and then how you're going to interact with your customers and your partners too. So these are just some reminders that I want you to be aware of.